Alrighty. Welcome back to Nikolai, this comic corner classic known classics. This is episode number 2524 and double shot number 2024-18. Now we have two Marvel trades. Both fairly released stuff, but this one here, this is basically the issues come on. This particular trade came before a particular one shot would lead to something happening currently. First, we have X-Men by Gerry Duggan, Volume 2, which collects, not Volume 2, this is Volume number 4. Collect issues 1924. Yep. Of course, your writer is, of course, Gerry Duggan, like I mentioned. We got two different artists on here. Josh Casera does 2022-24, and Seth Castillo does 1921. Yep. Yeah, first part here mostly focus on Forge and deal with something, potentially something we've explored in the next in here. First up we have is a historic two-part known as Lord of the Brood. Yes, an actual story arc in this very book. By the way, your lineup for basically X-Men for these issues here are Jean Grey, Snitch, Iceman, Firestar, Penance, Cyclops, Magic, Talon, and Forge. Talon is the Wolverine who was, it's basically the same Wolverine the same Laura McKinley made her debut in NYX number 3. She just aged up here. The reason why, because she spent time on Vault. But she's still a very lovely woman. Yep. Yep. So deal with, mostly put over the course of these couple issues we deal with the Brood. This is mostly put a loose two-part tie-in to the last arc of Kelly Thompson's run for the book. This is mostly put basically takes place at the same time as that story arc, Revenge of the Brood. And at the end of part 2, basically we have looks like Irene Adler. Yes, where she's basically, I think it's supposed to be Cable Assistant. And then Typhoid Mary shows up. Gives basically Irene a smooch. And then Wilson Fisk shows up. Yep. Wilson Fisk. Yeah. And, well, he basically is here because his wife. See, Typhoid Mary is a mutant. And because of the fact that Wilson Fisk married her, he claims consensual by marriage, Typhoid Mary. And of course, you have him processing F for lives. Yeah, and then we basically have a warrant for the arrest of Wilson Fisk, charged with the murder of Matt Murdock, attorney at law, incitement of rant, witness tampering, electioneering, basically rigging an election, tax fraud, making false statements to investigators, alias Harold Howard, Stay Puff. Okay, the Brainwasher. Okay, that is quite interesting, the fact they remember that. That's an old alias of his. The Brainwasher. I believe that was from the 70s. I'm surprised that Gerry Duggan remembered that reference. The Brainwasher. The Undertaker. I didn't remember him calling himself that before. Wilbur. I think that was an alternate name for him. But Kingpin, that's a more common name for him. That's basically his alias for crime. But the Brainwasher. I thought that's quite interesting. In fact, they brought that up. Yeah. Maybe he's about the crowd, 6'7", and nearly 400 pounds. A muscle. So, armed dangerous. He is presumed to be traveling with his wife, Mary. Contact a public who's seen Fisk. Reward $250,000. And then we continue with the whole, Brood stuff. Because basically, here's the thing with these issues. They basically cross over with basic Captain Marvel. And Brood's here too. A lot of people, classic Stan Lee, theatrical character, Nightmare. Yep. And this goes on for 3 issues of this very book. And then right afterwards, and then we have an issue called Bring on the Bad Guys, where this issue is all about the bad guys. Well, first we have Carmine Serpenter, aka the Mega Sentinel, who looks different. I remember her being a different skin color, but for some reason, the artist drew her, whoever the colorist is, apparently I think that Carmen Smelter is black. I'm not really sure why this is. So this is all about races. Basically, the whole thing about this issue is basically a prelude to something I'll talk about in a minute. And then we have other members. Nomad. MODOK. Miss Sinister. And I think that's the Scientist Supreme of AIM wearing red attire. It's something that like Nomad makes sense because, well, he does like mutants. Miss Sinister, even though he kind of is mutant, but he's working against the X-Men. MODOK is interesting. You never expect MODOK to be part of this group. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Cyclops shows up with Forge and Jean Grey to deal with a guy who, well, actually retreated. And mostly it's a lot of setup. And then we have Wolverine apparently has... Then we have Jean Grey just tells... And apparently she's powered by the Phoenix Force, even though she went away. And then apparently she stops Wolverine. Looks like Wolverine, but they say it's... Well... Yeah, they call this Sentinel Zero. And apparently they're copying, well, Wolverine's body. And then comes 23, when comes the Stark Sentinels. Yeah, and this woman here, if you're really curious about her, she is a relative of Mr. Sinister. She is from the storyline Sinister. I will review that in the future, don't worry about that. That's most of where she's from, and she's kind of, in a way, part of the X-Men. And I do say kind of. Most of it, she's here torturing Mr. Sinister. And then we have the Stark Sentinels. Of course, people think that is Iron Man, but it's not. It's a Stark Sentinel. And he identifies this one firefighter as a mutant. And then we see Cyclops wearing his Jim Lee costume. Now, this I think is a little weird, especially since in the previous issue of this very book, he was wearing his Krakoa era costume, which is a variant of the Bendis era costume, where it's blue, but it's basically the variant. It's a blue variant of the Bendis era costume. For some reason, we have Cyclops wearing back his '90s look, which he last wore in the Matthew Rosenberg run. Yes. So deal with the Stark Sentinel. And after they deal with this thing here, and then we have Cyclops. Well, first you had Emma Frost talking to Wilson Fisk. Yeah, Wilson Fisk basically doesn't like a protection for your shoes, still picking your bad habits. And he's like, I expect no special. I'll be good at Krakoa. Hope I'm interrupting. Our business is concluded. See you both at the gala. Yeah, this is actually set up for... This whole ending here is set up for Hellfire Gala 2023. An issue that resurrected Miss Marvel, who just got killed 2 months prior. And you could say also this is set up for Gerry Duggan's... Well, basically, Uncanny Avengers Volume 4, because this is a key issue here. Because this is a lead into something that would be played out a little bit later. How do I know this? Because I've read Uncanny Avengers. Because here's the thing, Wilson Fisk is not a mutant. The only reason he's allowed to stay here is because Typhoid Mary is mutant, and mutants live in Krakoa now. So there's that. And of course, the Emma Frost talking to... And apparently, Scott and Jean are having issues. And I love the way that she's drawn here, where she's basically like... I mean, some people could say, like, oh, is basically Emma Frost getting back with Scott Summers? No, not really. Especially since what Gerry Duggan's doing over an Iron Man right now. And then we have the final issue here, Once an X-Men, where we see the return of Kid Cable. I thought he died at the end of Cable Volume 4, but nope, here he is here, alive and well. And he basically is dealing with Hope and a few people. And then we see Rogue with Destiny. It's basically like a quick standalone issue, which I do appreciate that. It's a really fun issue. Mm-hmm. Then Jean and of course they have a private talk in the space where basically they talk all about the gala, and then basically Jean Grey talks to Polaris. Yep. And it says X months later. Or apparently it looked like Sunfire is dying with someone called Red Row, look like a Groot variant. And that's the trade here. So yeah, we basically are. I gotta say, this actually is the best set of issues so far for this whole run for Gerry Duggan, because this run has been up and down the whole time. Now, like Hickman's volume was, I enjoyed Hickman's volume. I thought it was really good. This has been mostly up and down per se, but I thought these issues were really good. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. All right, next up we have is Thunderbolts, back on target. This collects issues of Thunderbolts, Volume 4, well, basically it's a 5-issue miniseries, and Doubles Wing Omega. Before I get started with the actual review of this thing, I remember there was an article when they released this where they said, "Oh, Jim Zebb, the guy who wrote the old volume," and I'm like, no. You call an old volume that came out? By the way, this came out last year, and that previous volume ended 4 years prior. You call that really old? I mean, it's like the person who wrote this article was a complete idiot. Like, really? Yeah, and they also play over the fact in the book, at least Jim Zebb is not as stupid as the person who wrote that article, thinking that Jim Zebb was the only writer who wrote Thunderbolts. In case some people forget, Thunderbolts was not created by Jim Zebb. It was created by Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley back in 1997, not 2018. So mostly put in the Omega one-shot. This basically has the preview for this book, where Monica Rambeau was offered to join Thunderbolts but turned down at first. Oh, and this book, I should point out, does remember the fact that Monica Rambeau was dating Blue Marvel. Some other books have completely forgotten she has a boyfriend. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Yeah, by the way, the arc here is done by Sean Acey and Niho Diaz, with the prologue here done by Litio Benito. Yeah, and also, and it's mentioned here in this book here, that there is that stupid law that Elizabeth spun the books where the anti-vigilante law, so no vigilantes operate in New York, except for, well, the government's bound on the bolts. And all about rebranding. Yeah. And I believe I think it was this issue here where they take down Crossbones as sort of a last run of Wilson Fisk's regime. And how about Clint Barton join the team. So your lineup for this version of the Vault is basically Clint Barton, American Chavez, Power Man. This, of course, is the second one. Spectrum, obviously. There's also this new guy here, Persuasion, and Ghost and Glory. And I think this one was supposed to be Purple Man. Yes. So Clint is recruited the team and driving his same car from the Matt Fraction Hawkeye book. Like, let go just as like lightning. And after, of course, they deal with, well, this stuff here, and I think it was this issue here where they, okay, it's at the start of this basically like the very first page here, and I'm glad the fact Jim said pointed this out though. Luke Cage basically asks Michael, "What do you know about Thunderbolts?" Their wills of its asses super cronies. See, that's the problem. The original Thunderbolts were Baron Zemos, massive in the skies, building in trust before they spring a trap. After that, bunch of realized they're like being heroes. Hawkeye tries to save for redemption. I try to do the same. Which, all that is referencing, and I appreciate Jim said bringing this up here, even though he didn't write that book, but basically, this first speech bubble here, that is reference. Basically, this first page here is a complete reference to the first 75 issues of the run, and also they also bring up the era from 2010 to 2013 when Luke Cage led the team. And I am so happy that Jim Zeb referenced that, because that is what he's referencing here. Though, I think that the editor should put a note here and say, oh yeah, that was the classic era for Thunderbolts, and that's basically what this first speech over right here, that is what that is referencing there. And this one down here, the first part here, that's referencing later issues with from issue about 23 to about 50. And then the last speech over here, that's reference to the Heroic Age run. And I really wish they would put a reference in there. Anyways, I know that because, well, excuse me. Yeah, the only reason I personally know that is because I've actually read those volumes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm also glad the fact that Jim Zeb is not stupid. Mm-hmm. Even he realizes, though, what Thunderbolts are. Basically, I'm glad that he pointed out on the very first page of his preview, yes, of the prologue, he put on the very first page about people's misconception about Thunderbolts, because I'm sure he probably felt as though, some people probably felt as though that the only Thunderbolts we probably think of was probably the King of Black Thunderbolts, probably. But, and I'm actually quite happy about that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, Devil's Reign Omega, pretty much basically what this book did, it set up basically a few different things. This is one of the books set up here. Mm-hmm. Now, this actually is the second story of the book. And actually, like second and third story, because Fall and Rise is from basically something else. But yeah, like I mentioned, great the fact they reference this, and they also bring up the whole Just Like Lightning thing, and then basically where Clint mentions, oh yeah, work with San Francisco, the whole thing with Chavez, yeah, and of course he misses being on the West Coast Avengers. Victor Alvarez, new Power Man, gives a lot of potential. I don't want to squander, you dig? Super strong. Yeah, and by the way, this guy here is Guts and Glory. Yeah, and then pretty much the first threat is take down the Abomination. And you're thinking, wait a minute, isn't Abomination dead? Wasn't he killed by Red Hulk? Yes, he was. If I remember correctly, Gerry Duggan revived him during his brief Hulk run, and Al Ewing have expanded upon it. So, yeah, Gerry, this book is not was what my Jim said, but yeah, Gerry Duggan responsible for reviving him. So, they take care of him. And then Purple Woman basically deals with it. Now, here's the thing. Hawkeye is saying, what the heck is Just Like Lightning? Now, this thing is a bit weird. Did he... Because Luke Cage just referenced he led Thunderbolts. Did he not know about their slogan from their debut, Just Like Lightning? Either he didn't know that, or... I don't know, this may have been a hiccup on Jim Zeb's part, basically, him not knowing what the heck Just Like Lightning is. So Persuasion, it's basically his Persuasion. Zebediah Kilgrave's daughter. And after they deal with this person here, And then, of course, they get into a fight with... Now, this I'm glad they brought... So, they don't put There's no for the pre, but they reference up here where Clint beats up John Walker. It's like, you almost killed me that last beachside brawl back in Avengers Wisco 64, which I believe... I think Roy Thomas wrote that issue. Yes. And then after beating him up, then he gets knocked out. Then, of course, they have to deal with... I think that's Agony? I think that's Agony. And then they have to deal with Frances Ray, the female Electro. Oh yeah, and I love the fact Jim Zed basically kept Luke Cage's catchphrase, "Sweet Christmas." I'm trying to battle a budget here, Clint. I know. Right. And so you got $1,000,000 damage. People wondering if this team is hitting any one of the monster cops they had a few days ago. To be with John Walker, that was pretty sweet. I told you he was working with the FBI to help them bring on fist people. He's part of police escort. I don't know, maybe telling me that. Oh, he acted like a bag of cheating like one. On the bright side, we got to kill a candidate for our Energy League aspirant team, Monica. She's awesome. I'll figure out if it's a good fit. Just go home. Think about how we pull it together. So basically, she joins the team, and then we have this interesting thing here where America is just seeing Persuasion come out of the shower. Now, for her, basically, this is not much. She's seeing a beautiful woman come out of the shower, and she basically, she's not interested in her at all. And the thing is, and I'm so glad the fact that Jim Zeb reminded us the fact America Chavez is a lesbian. Unlike the writer who wrote the first American Chavez ongoing series, who had to remind people every single issue that she's a lesbian and she's a daughter of 2 lesbian moms. Because Jim Zeb knows his readers are not stupid. Thank you, Jim Zeb. And I'm like, now, the thing is, America Chavez is a paramedic, but there's no mention of the paramedic here at all. So she's trying to use her powers, and her powers are not working. Like, it broke. What? What's going on here? Yeah, and then, of course, Clint basically thinks about something here. And then we get like an old Silver Age reference. Argo, the Unbreakable. Oh boy. Now, is this character here like an old Golden Age villain per se? I think he might be a reference to, well, that character. Monster Owl. Yeah, and the thing is, here's the weird thing about this weird character. He only appears in this book. I'm thinking, really? Yes, really. Plus, I love the fact that it's like a clear homage to a Silver Age cover. And that's only issue 2. Yeah. So yeah, you have Clint coming with coffee. It's so funny. And then this guy Ego, and then of course like. Yeah, and of course you have the monster who ends up joining the roster. And take a quick picture. And Monica is basically in her regular costume, but wearing, get this, Blue Marvel's vest. Yes. Now, here's the thing. Now, where's that page here? guess it's not in this issue here, but I don't think so. But I think it might be in the next issue, where they bring up something that I think some writers forget the fact that she is this. And of course, do the Super Ape. And here you go. Blue Marvel in bed with Monica Rambeau. Which, thank you, Jim Zeb, for reminding people of the fact that she has a boyfriend, Blue Marvel. Yeah, he may be a little bit older than she is, but she's in a relationship. She's happy. I'm like, can writers basically just not send memos to each other, to remind each other, hey, that, well, oh, by the way, they did bring up the fact that, well, Monica's part of the Defenders Beyond Milk, which is interesting. And, oh yeah, keeping the vest. Isn't your boyfriend's clothes a bit nose? It's just fun to think. It's just so funny. And, yeah. Plus, I love this little font here, which is a clear nod to the first line for Thunderbolts. Yeah, and then you have Hawkeye back in his classic costume, one of his previous costumes for reasons. And they go to Russia, deal with some super apes. Yeah, and apparently there's also a minor subplot here where Clint is trying to contact his ex-wife. Yes. Contact Bobby Morse. I mean, they're divorced. Though, in my honest opinion, I think having these two get divorced was an absolute terrible idea. But in story, the reason why these two got divorced was because apparently she's had to kill her rapist. Yep. Instead of being sympathetic over the fact that she basically avenged herself, Hawkeye proceeded to act like a complete jerk to her and divorced her. Well, basically, they got divorced and they supposedly get back together. And then we have this blonde. I think it's supposed to be Bobby. Yeah, I think this blonde is supposed to be Bobby Morse. I'm not sure. So maybe they got back together. Who knows? Yeah, then we have look like a flashback to look like Luke Cage fighting Irwin and Miss America showing up. And giving Irwin a suplex? What? Yeah, it's like, oh, traveling through time, and this guy here looked like a Cable ripoff. Yep. And then Black Widow shows up. And then Bobby shows up. Okay. So we have his ex-wife and his first girlfriend here. Interesting. And then we have Terminus show up. Yes, remember that classic Avengers villain? Yeah, unless you're a hardcore comic fan, you probably have no idea who the heck this guy is. After taking him on, and then we have somebody here. We have Clint knocked down unconscious, and I'll do a nightmare for the last issue of the book. And after he's defeated there, and Hawkeye. And of course, basically, Herbie and Leah think she was part of the Ultimates. And of course, book ends with Clint calling his ex-wife, and well, and that's it. Yep. This book, really good. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Yep. But yeah, this particular view, I thought I would time do more, but nah, it's already at midnight, so I'll probably do it later. Okay, next video. Bye.